Hello, my loves, and welcome to the Forbidden Glass of Wine with me, Lady Divine. This is where no topic is too taboo, no truth too tangled, and no desire off limits. We sip slowly through the myths, the memories, and the heart's the deepest whispers. I'm your host, the one who pours it without apology. Tonight, darlings, let's uncork something unforgettable. When desire crosses the line, and baby, let me tell you, this is the hushed space between silence and sin, where every shimmering truth is painted in bold lipstick, and every whispered lie pulsates with a heartbeat, quietly echoing our desires. I feel like I drank the last glass of wine at a table I wasn't invited to. And to you, my Forbidden Glass of Wine family, as we uncork this bottle, its label long removed to keep us guessing. Who, oh who, lies inside this glass? I'm Lady Divine, your guide through tonight's decadent revelry. And tonight, my darlings, we don't merely sip wine. We sink into it. We delve into secrets that linger like the rich aroma of the vineyard, ripe, dark, and impossible to forget. They say wine has legs, long and enticing, but so do regrets, trailing behind us like shadows. And sometimes, both leave a mark you can't easily wipe clean. What you're about to hear isn't just a cautionary tale. No, it's a raw confession, laced thick with temptation and spicy allure, the kind of moment that feels too good to abandon, the kind of night that whispers your name when no one else is listening, each of us lost in our own reveries. Let me pose a question. Have you ever crossed a line, subtle and slow, so carefully, you convinced yourself it wasn't even there? Have you ever told your shadow to wait outside while you slipped into someone else's silence, wrapped in their secrets? This reminds me of a poem I once read, a haunting little piece that has stayed with me, and it goes like this. The line. I didn't mean to taste the flame, but there it was, warm, waiting, a sip too deep, a look too long, a name I kept repeating. Not love, not quite sin, just the echo of a want I never stopped wanting. Oh yeah, baby. You already understand the thrill. This glass we share tonight, it isn't sweet, it isn't safe, but oh, it's unforgettable. Each sip is a journey into the heart of desire. So pour it slow. Savor each drop. Light your candle. Let the flickering flame be your witness. And if you've ever cherished someone you shouldn't have, or yearned for something you couldn't voice in the glaring light of day, then you, my darling, are precisely where you need to be. Tonight's letter tastes like guilt, sweet yet painful, and it burns like the memories that linger long after. Stay with me, baby. We're just getting started. And you, my dear, you're not just a spectator. You're a fellow traveler. This journey isn't meant to be taken alone. Some ghosts don't move on, and some desires, they remember everything. You know how some truths don't shout. They don't demand the spotlight. They linger, they whisper softly from the shadowed corners of your mind, right when you're lying in bed, eyes heavy but thoughts racing, moments before sleep wraps its arms around you. Tonight's letter arrives cloaked in a shroud of guilt, its edges tinged with the richness of temptation. Each word walks a tightrope between desire and regret, drawing you in with an intoxicating allure that feels impossible to resist. But before we go any further, allow me to help you select the perfect wine for tonight's tale. I call it a little wine pairing, chosen with the spirit of this letter in mind. Because, darling, we have to get into the mood. Memory and melancholy. So pause this video, run, Yes, run to your wine cellar, or maybe just that shelf above the fridge, and look for this wine, Cabernet Sauvignon. A rich, full-bodied, complex. Darling, let me tell you, Cabernet is for deep reflection, perfect for nights like this, when you're unpacking stories that don't just stay with you, they haunt you. It's not just a wine, it's a soundtrack. Now, while you go grab that glass, allow me to share a little something extra with you. Some wine wisdom, wine and forbidden desire. Some wines aren't on the menu. The best ones aren't offered. You have to ask for them. And just like desire, the forbidden ones taste like fire and memory. Now sit back, pour your glass, and remember, what we share here stays here. Unless it aches so loudly, so deeply, that it needs to be spoken aloud. With this Cabernet Sauvignon lingering on my palate, it is time to read to you, my darlings, this delicious letter. Dear Lady Divine, I find myself grappling with a weighty confession, an admission of profound misjudgment that lingers like a shadow in the recesses of my mind. I made the reckless choice to sleep with my best friend's ex-boyfriend, a decision I now deeply regret. It wasn't a path I ever intended to take. It unfolded unexpectedly, as if scripted by fate. He arrived at my doorstep just as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in swirls of orange and violet. At first, it was innocent. He said he wanted to talk, to have a heart-to-heart about his breakup. His voice trembled with sincerity, and something in me didn't want to turn him away. We settled into my cozy living room, the scent of sandalwood incense mingling with the faint aroma of the rosemary roasted chicken I had made earlier that evening. The soft glow of candles flickered, casting dancing shadows along the walls. An atmosphere far too intimate for what should have been a simple conversation. We sipped red wine, velvety, heavy, dangerous, and somewhere between the laughter and the reminiscing, the silence changed. It no longer felt comforting. It felt charged, taut with unspoken want, the kind of silence that leans in close and breathes on your neck. And even though I knew I was crossing an unforgivable line, a line that defined not only our friendship, but the sacred trust she had placed in me, I was consumed by the intensity of the moment, the feeling of being seen. When his lips met mine, when our breath mingled, I was engulfed by a tidal wave of longing that drowned out the voice of conscience. In that fleeting moment, I wasn't the best friend or the one who always listened. I was desired, held like something rare, and I felt, for a moment, like the woman I had always wanted to be, not just accepted, but adored. Oh, mercy, let us take a breather. Oh, my goodness. Now you know I usually wait until the end before I jump in. But this one? Oh, this one, darling. It had me leaning forward in my chair. Yep. The eyes we try to forget, filled with memories and longing, those are the ones that follow us in the dark. Unblinking, haunting, still watching from the shadows. All right, let's return to the letter. But Lady Divine, she doesn't know. My best friend, the one person who knows my soul inside and out. The one I've laughed with, cried with, shared dreams and disappointments with. She still talks about him sometimes, not like she wants him back, but like she hasn't figured out how to fully erase his shadow from the corners of her heart. And now, here I am, with the secret bleeding in my mouth, like bad wine. I want to believe I'm not a terrible person, just a lonely woman who wanted to be wanted by someone who knew how to listen when the world got too loud. Yours truly, when desire crosses the line. Whew, that secret lingered like a slow sip of dark coffee, warm, rich, and heavy with anticipation. Or maybe, like an aged red wine, each drop savored, memory laced in every taste. And let me say this, baby, what you sipped wasn't just wine, it was memory. Sometimes guilt isn't punishment. It's a whisper from your soul, reminding you who you are. You can't protect her feelings while holding his eyes like a keepsake. You can't cradle both past and truth without one spilling over. Tell the truth, even if it stains, because lies spoil, they curdle, they dry out the soul. And desire is a ravenous guest, uninvited, unapologetic, arriving like wildfire. Subtlety vanishes, restraint slips away. Desire demands a taste and always comes back for seconds. It doesn't just visit, darling. It rearranges the room. It lingers in your ear long after it's gone, leaving you hungry, not just for what was, but for more. More passion, more fire. A kind that should never have crossed her threshold, but did, and lit up the room anyway. Now, we have two call-in guests who are eager to share their thoughts on the letter we just explored. But before we dive into what they have to say, let's take a moment, a breather and a sip, and let it all settle in. Low. Let it breathe. Some emotions, like bold wine, need to breathe. Open the bottle. Sit in the silence. Let the flavor of what hurt you finally change. Now let's delve into the perspective of a female listener responding to this heartfelt confession. Will she emerge as a voice of forgiveness, offering grace and understanding? Or will she take a more critical stance, firmly upholding the boundaries that define true friendship? After all, the writer has crossed an unspoken line, one that many women consider sacred, the principle of never pursuing a romantic relationship with a close friend's ex. In the realm of friendship, this is often viewed as a cardinal sin, a betrayal that cuts deep into the foundation of trust. For many, this kind of act isn't just a misstep. It's a fracture in the code of loyalty, an offense that threatens the integrity of the bond between friends. They would argue that true friendship demands a level of respect and emotional consideration that simply cannot be compromised. Yet others might see it differently. They might argue that life is messy, love is unpredictable, and no one should be denied the chance at connection, especially if the past relationship has run its course and both parties have moved on. In that light, is the pursuit of personal happiness truly so unforgivable? And that, right there, is the heart of the debate. Should the sacred bonds of friendship always take precedence? Or can personal fulfillment, even love, sometimes justify the risk? A listener's response will no doubt reflect her own lived experiences, values, and emotional boundaries. Her reaction may offer insight not just into this situation, but into the universal tension between desire and duty, and how we each choose to navigate that fine, often fragile line.
Honestly, I don't believe she intended to betray her friend. In truth, I think she was simply yearning for something tender, a moment of warmth, of connection, to soothe her weary soul, which has been battered by the quiet storms of life and the heavy weight of solitude. Loneliness has a cunning way of whispering into our hearts, convincing us to make choices we might never entertain under the clear, warm light of day. It twists our perceptions, clouds our judgment, and leads us down paths that, while comforting in the moment, are often tangled with consequence. And let's pause and consider this for a moment. If he was genuinely her best friend's ex, then what kind of loyalty does it reflect when he willingly crawls into her bed? That too speaks volumes. It raises important questions, not just about his character, but about the foundation of trust within the friendship these two women have built. Trust is fragile, and the intimacy they once shared, that bond, deserves a measure of respect. Women often carry the disproportionate burden of shame, a weight pressed onto us by generations of expectations and unyielding societal norms. It's a pressure that can feel suffocating, especially in moments of vulnerability. So before we pass judgment, Let's offer her a little space to breathe, to feel, to reflect. She is navigating a storm right now, not just the aftermath of a complicated choice, but also the barrage of external judgment that comes along with it. There's a complex, tangled web of emotions at play here: guilt, desire, longing, remorse, and understanding that depth is essential if we're truly going to empathize with her situation.
Whew! What a heartfelt reminder of the compassion and grace we're capable of extending, both to ourselves and to others. In this intricate journey we call life, our experiences stretch far beyond simple actions or isolated mistakes. What truly carries weight is the why behind those choices, the deeper motivation that reflects our most intimate values and long-held beliefs. At the heart of it all is a yearning, a desire to understand the tangled emotions and quiet battles within us that sometimes drive us to act in ways we ourselves can't immediately explain. For instance, think about how a thoughtful response during a heated conflict might stem not just from the moment itself, but from an entire lifetime of lessons learned, lessons about love, trust, disappointment, and the fragile dance of vulnerability. Our actions don't simply appear. They mirror our inner landscapes, shaped by past experiences, emotional needs, and yes, even those lingering wounds that haven't quite healed. It's so important to honor those past experiences, to acknowledge that they live in us, shaping how we move through the world. They carry echoes of joy, pain, longing, and sometimes even survival, all of which inform the decisions we make today. When we take the time to gently explore this inner terrain, we uncover truths that help us connect the dots, to understand our subconscious motivations and the context in which our choices arise. It's not always about logic or clarity in the moment. Often, it's a delicate dance between reason and emotion, between what we know and what we feel. Recognizing that delicate interplay is where transformation begins. It allows us to nurture self-awareness, to pause before reacting, and most beautifully, to extend grace to ourselves and to the people around us. And in doing so, we deepen our empathy. We remember that beneath our differences lie shared fears, hopes, desires, the same messy, magnificent humanness that binds us together. That reminder, that truth, it illuminates our collective path, and it reminds us that we are all, every single one of us, doing our best to navigate this maze of life with tenderness, intention, and care. Now, let's take a moment to consider the perspective of a male caller regarding the letter we just read. This letter unveiled a situation where a woman confessed to sleeping with her best friend's ex-boyfriend, a revelation that pulls us into the murky waters of trust, desire, and consequence. It raises compelling questions about the nature of loyalty and the fragility of friendship. Will the caller defend her actions, interpreting them through a distinctly male lens? Or will he voice criticism, aligning more closely with the principles of loyalty, boundaries, and emotional fidelity? After all, gender may color his viewpoint, shaping how he interprets betrayal, how he values friendship, and how he navigates moral gray areas. His reaction could offer a fascinating contrast to the emotional lens of the writer herself. Will he see her choices as justified in the name of love or emotional need? Or will he draw a firm line, believing she violated an unspoken code? This tension between compassion and condemnation, between instinct and integrity, lies at the heart of tonight's conversation. It will be fascinating to hear whether he believes her actions were a human misstep or a deeper transgression. But before we dive into his reflections, here is your wine and wisdom moment. The forbidden bottle. There's always that bottle you weren't meant to open, but you do, and it changes everything, just like them.
Let me be straightforward. If my close friend were to betray me in such a profound way, I would feel a deep, gut-wrenching sense of betrayal. There's simply no question about it. But here's a reality check. People don't just unwittingly find themselves in bed with someone else. Each choice, whether it's a lingering gaze, a flirtatious comment, or a late-night text, is a conscious step taken along the way. I'm not here to cast judgment on anyone's choices or circumstances. What I'm trying to convey is this. If you're feeling a desperate craving for love or intimacy, please don't satisfy that longing by dipping into someone else's emotional well. Be brutally honest with yourself about your feelings. If what you're experiencing is merely a quest for temporary comfort and validation, then own it and label it for what it truly is. But if there's something deeper, a genuine connection that transcends a fleeting moment, you owe it to your friend, to the other person involved, and most importantly, to yourself, to confront that truth and navigate the complexities honestly.
All right, my dear, take a breath, cradle your glass and pour yourself another splash of that rich, velvety elixir, the kind that warms your belly and unbuttons your defenses. Now, let's wander together through the winding corridors of truth, that intricate labyrinth where each twist peels back a deeper insight. We'll move in step with the delicate rhythm of timing, learning when to speak, when to hold back, and when silence says more than words. And yes, we'll face the seductive lure of temptation, that ever-present whisper in the dark, asking us to weigh choices that carve the very map of our becoming. Now that was some wine and truth, where the first glass is for the mood, the second for truth, and by the third, you're not sipping wine anymore, you're sipping confession. Now, my darling, before I take my final bow on this matter, allow me a moment to share with you my closing thoughts, a monologue woven with warmth, wisdom, and just a touch of dramatic flair. I hope these words bring you comfort, clarity, and perhaps a glimmer of understanding as we peer into the tangled threads of love and friendship. You see, sleeping with your best friend's ex is no mere dalliance. It is an emotional tempest, a quiet storm that brews beneath the surface of desire and loyalty. On one side lies the spark of new connection, the undeniable pulse of attraction. On the other, the sacred bond of friendship, built on years of shared trust and vulnerability. This, my dear, is not a decision made lightly. It requires courage, reflection, a willingness to weigh not just what you feel, but what others might lose. Consider the echoes of the past, the memories still warm in your friend's heart, and ask yourself, is this connection worth the silence that might follow, the distance that may grow? Navigating love's murky waters demands both honesty and grace. Speak your truth. Listen without defense. Let empathy guide your choices. And whatever path you choose, do it with intention. Because sometimes the heart wants what it wants, but the soul, the soul, it remembers who was there when your world was falling apart. And that, my darling, is something worth remembering. And here is another wine poem. A sip of wine, our shared delight. In secret thoughts, our spirits ignite. A touch, a glance in whispers found. Within these moments, love springs unbound. Now, darlings, now, let me leave you with this. From my glass to your soul, my dear, take heed, that wasn't truly you, or more hauntingly, that was you, but it never should have been. A reminder that shadows can dance, but sunlight brings clarity. Let it breathe and settle like dust in the air. So let's confront the real inquiry. Was it merely a sip of loneliness, a fleeting taste of bittersweet solitude? Or was it a taste of unvarnished truth, raw and unfiltered, gleaming with the possibility of passion? Because often we label it a mistake, a transient misstep, when deep in our core we yearned for it. Oh, how we ached for it. And perhaps we still do, lurking quietly beneath the surface. Now listen closely, sugar. If it was lust, let it blaze with intensity and move on, its flames flickering and fading into the night. But if it was love, if that ephemeral moment resonated with something profound, then you stand at a crossroads, a pivotal junction that may demand sacrifices, your comfort, your camaraderie, your effortless escapes into the arms of boredom. You can't inhabit two realities, drawn in opposing directions like a game of tug-of-war. You can't shield her delicate feelings while cherishing his gaze in your memory, like an old photograph that stirs forgotten longing. Speak your truth, darling, even if it stains your heart with regret. Even if it alters the very fabric of everything you've known, because lies, darling, they mature far worse than the finest wine. They become a bitter vine, twisting and choking the very essence of who you are. And should she turn away, should she cast you out like a splinter too deep to forgive, know this, you are still worthy of redemption. You are still allowed to rise. And though you may walk alone for a while, know that solitude is not punishment. It is the forge of truth. So let the dust settle. Let the story breathe. Let hearts mend or break. But whatever you do, my love, do it honestly. Do it completely. Do it as the woman you are, and not the ghost of who you pretended to be. Now, as our glasses grow lighter and the candles burn low, let me leave you with this final sip, this closing note, equal parts truth, tenderness, and temptation. To the ones who've crossed lines they never meant to, and to the ones still staring up a line, wondering what it would feel like to step over it. To the secrets we carry, like lipstick on wine glass rims, faint but impossible to forget. To the desires we dared not name out loud, and the truths we swallowed whole. May we remember, love is messy, loyalty is delicate, and honesty. Honesty is the boldest vintage on the shelf. It burns, yes, but it also cleanses. So here's to every story we weren't supposed to tell, every feeling we thought we had buried, and every night we chose vulnerability over silence. Drink deep, my darlings. Let the flavor linger. And if tomorrow brings a hangover of emotion, know it's only because you felt something real. And for my final sip, even spilled wine leaves a stain. Just because it didn't last doesn't mean it didn't mean something. Some wines won't age well, but you'll remember the way they tasted. And for your weekly divine dare, the mirror talk. This week, I dare you to stand in front of your mirror. No makeup, no filter, no apologies. Look yourself in the eyes and say out loud one thing you've been too scared to admit. Whisper it if you need to, but baby, say it. Until next time, this has been the Forbidden Glass of Wine. Have a story, a question, or a secret aching to be heard? Let me, Lady Divine, pour over it with you. You can share your truth anonymously. Yes, anonymously, via WhatsApp or through the Google form linked below. No one has to know your name. Just bring your honesty, and I'll meet you there, with warmth, wit, and a glass in hand. Because your voice matters, and your story, it might be the spark that lights someone else's way. Submit now, sip later. And I am always yours, Lady Divine, the kind that should never have crossed your threshold, but did, and lit up the room anyway.